Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks again for everybody coming to another one of our sessions today or this afternoon. We've got Matthew June from Napier Port, and he's going to give us a wonderful presentation. So, Matthew, over to you.
All right. Well, like Darren said, I work for the Napier Port. I've been there about 3 years. We are primarily a Esri FME shop. So most of the time when you hear me talking, I will mention GIS almost as one with FME. So that's how tightly integrated I am and spend most of my time working in both, actually. And the one thing I've learned about the Napier Port since I've been there is no matter how bad things go, if you show enough pictures of your penguins, things will be all right in the end.
That's a cute little penguin for sure.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit of the discussion as we go through here. So we talked about the asset management is the name of the presentation, and we do a lot of that on Port, and we are very much in the process of building our systems out and building these integrations that we use FME for. But asset management doesn't exist in a vacuum. We've got lots of activities that are going on around it. We've got dredging, we've got safety applications or our port activity map that have safety permitting, and we'll show that. Then we'll talk a little bit about pulling it all together on the map, and that's a bit of a future forward kind of thing to see where we're going to go. And then we'll talk a little bit about penguins. So I'm going to focus right now on one of my first big projects that I got when I started. What actually got us into FME in the first place was this idea of as we're building our 6th wharf out there, we want to be able to track what's happening. We want to be able to pull in data from disparate sources and have a go at that and keep that as a permanent record. So what you see right there on the left side is a document management system called Project Place. Everything that goes on in the 6th wharf project is kept within this Project Place. That's a permanent record. It's stored there and it's held. So that's not something I can get a hold of and grab very easily. Normally, I mean, I could download it and then you start in your manual process. But one of the things that we set up first was this what I called the pile tracker. It actually uses an API. It uses that API to get a Excel file, and it pulls it over into our FME server, and that's where it begins to do the processing. So you can take all those piles, and from a format that our builders don't always use the same formats that we might like. So we can use that and we can manipulate whatever they provide to us, and we can do the work on it. And you'll see over there on the right that you eventually end up with a nice map of the piles. Pile tracking was a big thing as we started out. Like I said, first big part of the project, and there were lots of things, lots of wildlife, lots of things that go along with that. So that was a big deal. Addition to that, and that's why I say it doesn't exist in a vacuum. While you're working on your assets, you've got dredging. You've got dredging going on that's taking almost 14 months of work to track those things down and carry that out. For dredging, what we did was we took out a very similar process, spreadsheets. You'll see a lot of spreadsheets in my presentations because that's when you don't have complete control over data delivery, you often get spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a big problem, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yes. And it actually, moving between those and convincing people that is the right way to go can be a little bit difficult. So, and those spreadsheets also, they're not only for our permanent records and how we know things, but we're also meant to do conform to the consents that we have for dredging. So what we can do is we can keep this internally, or we can share it out with the Hawke's Bay Regional Council, and they have access to all that data that's in that spreadsheet easily. They can see it. They can come in and take a look at what's happened. So those are the ongoing projects there that we use.
Cool.
Again, so one of the things that we have to do is, while we're building this 6 wharf, we've got daily operations going on around us. You can see the building, you can see the containers. We still have to be a port. We still have to move the containers. We have to move all the products that are coming out of Hawke's Bay, and they're being imported as well. So we need to manage this system somehow. And how we do that is we utilize a system called SAI 360 that manages all the site work applications and the permits to work. And so when we get that, we end up with something like this. What it is a GIS map that anyone can look at, know what's going on in the port, and from anywhere, and they can be integrated from.
So this is public facing, Matthew, yeah?
It can be, part of it is public facing. Part of the parts that do not have any personal identifying information are public facing. But this, with utilizing the FME, we can process both if it's active or if there's time. I am testing the network at this point.
The network says yes.
The network says it will work. It will work eventually.
Yeah.
So what we do with those is we actually can take it, we can look at our project, and we can look at all the planned activities that are going to be happening over the next, in this case, over the day, course of the day. But we've got both. We've got hot work permits, we've got bunkering, we've got repairs and maintenance. We've got lots of different things happening. So what we're looking at is to come up with a way to track all these things really easily. Again, so this is what one of those, I won't go into great detail here, but this is what the slides start to look at, or the workbenches look like. They run every 5 minutes. So we have a almost constant update of who's put something in, is there a permit happening, what's going on. So you can always know what's happening on the port that are sort of out of normal activities.
So the workbenches are updating the back end that displays the information on the map, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a near constant process of pulling those things out of that SAI 360.
And is the automation, is that done, the scheduling, is that done on FME server, or is that just done manually, or some kind of trigger system on?
It's done on FME server.
Oh, okay, cool. Right. Yeah.
It's yeah, I couldn't do it without that.
Yeah.
It manages, it sends me emails when things go bad, or if there's been it could be a network outage, could be something. Everything we do is run into ArcGIS Online, so it could be run into there. So sometimes those things have network issues, and those will fail.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm gonna try to test the network just a little bit, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's all together. And what I wanted to try to do was paint a picture of what's happening as we build out and as we do use FME to do those constant updates. We're going to have things like our panels. As we build panels, as we do the actual inspections on the panels, how deep are they? We'll have all the information on the sampling if they took it or what was happening with those panels. So we're looking at not only what the structure is, but we're looking at a history of these things.
So it's pretty fair to say there's time series data here as well, and yeah, if you're looking at the history, changes over time. Yeah.
And that's what I mean by the asset management doesn't happen in a vacuum. We're looking at, we can include the PAM data, we can look at the activity data, we can start looking and we can look at the ship information of what's in port. All of these things start to really paint a picture and show what's happening. And I'm turning all these things off, so on and off. So bear with me, please.
It's all good.
What happens is it really does start to paint a picture of what your facilities look like and how they're managed. We've got utilities on here. We've got the new Moor Masters on here. We've got ship visits. We've got all the hot works. We've got the site works. All of those things really paint an active and live picture of what's going on. Yeah.
So it looks like there's a lot of data there as well, Matthew. Do you find like the FME updating all that, is it quite fast? Does it manage those types of data? Like, is it efficient?
It manages most of it within, and I can say I heard a little talk about the speed of FME coming up and being faster. I've noticed, even I'm not up to 22 yet, but in the 21 version, things like those safety and those site work alerts they were cut down from about 1.5 minutes to run to about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So there was I'm looking forward to the new version because there was a great connection, great improvement of speed.
I mean, that's why we had the whole Lambo thing, right?
Yeah.
It's all about the extra speed we get from 2022. So yeah, hopefully that's going to be good for you.
That cool. And I'll show real quick. One of the things we've worked with in building that wharf, the environment was extremely important to us. And what we did, we took a look at the penguins who were actually nesting in and around that area. We had visits from both dock, visits and advice from dock on how to do it and how to manage moving those guys and when to construct the wharf. So we looked at when they were there, where they were at, and how and if we could move them. So we've actually moved a lot of them into our new penguin sanctuary, which will show up on the that shows those are the trackers, and we've post-processed that with FME. There's lots and lots of data inside there, but what I've taken out the data between the GPS coordinates the trackers provide. What it is really a balance between how long the tracker will last and how far and the number of and the amount of data that you want to get back. So just to show one little example, Paul traveled believe he's the one that traveled 800 and some kilometers over
Gosh.
the period, 871 kilometers in 23 days. So that's the kind of tracking, and that's the kind of emphasis we want to put on taking care of the environment and understanding what's happening. So
FME manages all that data, processes all that data, so you're able to put it into this mapping. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Cool.
And I'll show you one last project that I'm currently working on. Maybe.
That's a lot of layers to manage.
Yeah, no, it is. And I tried several ways, and part of the idea is that you don't do anything, like I said, in that vacuum. It's all connected, and all the things that we do with our asset management and construction and planning have an impact throughout both operations and the environment. So in working with the data, this is actually one of the penguin tracks. And the thing that makes this interesting is you can not only where they're at, but based on the elevation that's coming out for their little tracker, you know what they're doing. So you can tell when they're diving, you can tell when they're feeding. And so that becomes a really nice spatial problem in finding out not only, it's one thing to know where they went, but it's another to know what they were doing when they were out there. So I've used FME to there's only a handful of GPS points in here, but I've connected those, and then I've used each of these 1 second readings, and I've given them a percentage along point with using an FME tool. And so that's actually turns out to be quite interesting data when you can put all of them together and then start looking.
So you're kind of extracting like what they're going to do, like the penguins eating or the penguins swimming, and adding a whole additional context, utilizing FME to process that data. Yeah.
Exactly. Without touching any data.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty neat. Yeah.
So yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. I think, sorry, Matthew. Yeah, I think John's just going to say, come on and just do a bit of a goodbye, everybody. So thank you, Matthew. It was awesome.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. So look, Matthew, great to have your presentation today. And I know you've shown me the penguins in the past, which it's just pretty cool to see those kind of use cases of FME. So I guess part of what we've been trying to do with the collection of presentations is to show a really broad picture, right? So how FME can tackle perhaps not just your traditional GIS type challenges, Matthew, but kind of exploring other usages, which I'm not quite sure Don and Dale came up with tracking penguins when they first came up with FME back in 1993.
Yeah, it is part of what makes the day job interesting day to day.
Yeah, for
being
sure.
able to have the freedom to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Matthew, was there anything else you wanted to note before we wrap up for the day?
Yeah, I think I'm in good shape. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, look, it's been a pleasure. Just from Locus's perspective, just a really big thank you for all the presentations today from our clients. We started off with Fuang from QV, Pat Booth from MC Solutions, Sarah Singh from Waka Katahi, NZTA, Daniel Knutsford from Morpham Environmental. We had our own Darren Fergus and Pip Norris with the stories around the world. And of course, you've just heard from Matthew June. So all of these are recorded, as we've mentioned before. Great to see everybody here today tuning in. We've got another big day tomorrow as well. So hopefully you can join us there. Some more client stories, as well as What's Up Wednesday, if you like, except on a Thursday here in New Zealand, from Mark Ireland, and a roundtable discussion. We've got indoor mapping from Darren, and we finish off with Andrew Old and Ruby Seeley-Lawson from Balance, who will be talking about spread smart processing. So thanks again, Matthew. Looking forward to catching up with you when we get down again. We haven't done as much travel as we'd like in the last year or two, but that's COVID for you. Darren, thanks for popping in here as well.
No
and everybody, good to see you and catch you tomorrow. Thanks very much. See you then.
Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers. All the best. Bye-bye now.